God damn it, where is this guy again? Buddy!
Yes, boss. Coming, boss.
What happened to you? I thought you got that new import-export job.
Didn't feel like doing it. I found other ways to get through life. You got some nice stuff here, by the way.
Well, thanks.
So, are we going to do the review now?
I don't know.
What's wrong?
Okay, buddy, what price would it take to get your savage ass out of here?
What? Savage! I thought I was the worst scoundrel on earth, but you, Jimmy Cage. Do you have a piano that needs fixing? I could polish your shoes!
आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
And it's our continuing pleasure to review one Indian movie each week. And if you want to get early information on what we're working on, or vote on the next picks, or choose a movie directly for us, you can now check out our newly launched Patreon at patreon.com/thejimmycage.
Today we go back 69 years to the year 1951, back to a real treasure of Indian cinema, Raj Kapoor's Awaara.
Awaara was written by K.A. Abbas and directed by Raj Kapoor. It also stars Raj Kapoor and at his side one of the greatest Indian actresses of all time, Nargis.
Awaara is a milestone in the history of Bollywood. With Raj Kapoor and Nargis, who later married actor Sunil Dutt, it boasts two of the guiding heads of the most prominent dynasties of Indian cinema, the Kapoors and the Dutts. Awaara became kind of an overnight sensation and had huge success not only in India but also in East Asia, the Soviet Union, Africa, the Middle East and Eastern Europe. It's a must-see movie and in my mind a masterpiece.
But before we really get into the movie, we have to take a detour into something that bothers me quite a bit with older movies. It's really not a fault of the film, at least I'm pretty sure it isn't, but right from the beginning, the framing of many shots felt really off. Faces were cut off, things in the background were strangely close to the edge of the picture, and so on. Why is that? Well, I'm 90% sure that the film was originally filmed and screened in the classic full-screen aspect ratio of 1.37:1. And not in widescreen, which unfortunately is the only version available on YouTube, which is also the source of material for this review.
We already pointed to this issue when we reviewed Guru Dutt's 1957 Picasso, but at least that one was available in the correct aspect ratio on Amazon Prime. Unfortunately, the streaming platform Mubi, where we watched Awaara, only featured the widescreen version, so for a long time we assumed it had to be correct.
But it really can't be, looking at all those strange framing choices, and I think it's also highly unlikely that a 1951 Indian movie was shot in this widescreen format. But
yes!
With that being said, it couldn't take away all the grandeur and beauty that Awaara has to offer. This film had me sit in awe with my mouth wide open several times. It's a spectacular, highly entertaining and wonderfully told tale.
And I think tale is exactly the right word here. It's a decade-spanning tale, a family tragedy, a fable if you will, because at its core is the central question of nature versus nurture. It doesn't feature any fantastical elements apart from a beautifully surreal dream sequence that we will talk about later, and yet it reminded me somehow of a fairy tale, maybe because it's simple but strong story and its moral lesson.
Though a fable usually is kind of a brief story, and Awaara is of course this super long and epic film, but yet its story can be told in a few sentences. We follow the life of Raj, who was born in poverty and without a father. Through different circumstances he starts to lead the life of a vagabond and bandit, but his love for a young woman named Rita makes him think about what he really wants to be. But can he actually change, or is his life already predetermined by the way he grew up?
That's the question. Awaara starts in a courtroom. We start at the end, so to speak, because the movie's book ended by a case in court that sees Raj as the attacker of Judge Raghunath, who is played by Raj Kapoor's own father, Prithviraj Kapoor. The case gets reviewed by way of digging in Raj's past, and so we flash back and watch how things came to that.
That beginning is almost a bit stale. After all, Awaara is almost 70 years old, and of course you feel that age. Yet, within the next almost 3 hours, I was very surprised how fresh, energetic and passionate the film was.
I was into it right from the start. I mean, I had slight difficulties following the plot in the first 20 minutes, But that's actually not even worth mentioning because everything else, everything that followed is so fantastic, wonderful, captivating, I'm out of words.
There's almost nothing that I disliked. I was in love with this film for almost its entire runtime. I think from the moment that our protagonist Raj becomes a young man and thus is played by Raj Kapoor, to the moment where he and his love Rita kind of part ways again because he doesn't think he's worthy with this kind of lifestyle, that huge middle section, so the majority of the film was downright perfect.
And it's told with so much charm and flair, from him moving into these gangster underworld circles, his plan to hit the next big thing, his lucky encounter with Rita, his former friend from childhood, to them falling in love. Not only is the chemistry between those two off the charts, but the filmmaking is also impeccable.
The way the camera moves, how it's edited, the beautiful sets, everything sucks you right in. And it has a very specific flow and style. Oftentimes the characters move very fast and abrupt, and the cinematography and editing totally emphasize this. Moving in very quickly, jumping back, jumping to the sides. The direction is very strong.
And technical things aside, it's also just a super engaging journey that has everything you wish for. Comedy, gangster drama, adventure, tragedy, and of course romance and love.
At its heart, Awaara is definitely a romance.
Definitely. I liked how things are entangled with each other and how something is the cause for something else and so on. Like with the accident of Raj's mother, which was a tiny little bit over the top and almost too comical, but still it works. Or how Raj and his father bump into each other on several occasions. We get ironic reversals and traumatic setbacks. It's quite a witty script and it's funny. The comedic timing is on point.
You can feel Kapoor's proximity to Charlie Chaplin for sure.
Totally. His little tramp, Vagabond, is clearly inspired by Chaplin's Tramp, and I love it.
Awaara sometimes feels quite American, but of course done in this big Indian musical fashion. Take for example the scene with Rita's stolen purse and how Raj fights with himself. Such a great scene.
Oh yes, and you know what I also loved was this mythical element of the movie, how destiny and fate and forces that are beyond our control are portrayed. The black and white of the movie of course plays a part in that and how light is used, looming shadows, fog and stuff like that. It's also important and interesting that we often see things from a high angle or a low angle and we often get those close-ups of faces.
Talking about destiny and fate, we have to talk about the songs and how they are staged.
The score was composed by Shankar Jaikishan and the songs were written by Shailendra and Hazrat Jaipuri and they are all great, but two or let's say three or let's say four of them stand out, with one being the undisputed champion.
Yeah, the first one is Awaara, which became popular all around the world. It's a great song that introduces us to Raj's life as a vagabond. He's roaming the streets, stealing here and there, it's great.
I loved Dambarjo Udar Mun Per, a wonderful song where Raj and Rita sing together and revel in passion and memories. That's also the case with Gar Aya Mera Pardesi, the glittering white set that evokes something celestial is beautiful. But of course, Tere Bina Aage Chandni is one of the greatest accomplishments I have ever seen.
How good is that one? Of course the music and the lyrics are fantastic, but the production design, the cinematography, the makeup, the decor, unbelievable.
I firmly believe that Awaara influenced an entire gamut of Indian films with those sequences alone. Raj Kapoor supposedly was known to be a master scenarist and showman, and well, you can definitely see that.
Kapoor was a master, but we have to give props to Nargis as well. It is said that she was a big part of this production too. She assisted him in almost all aspects of filmmaking, including set design, camera work, the staging of song and dance numbers, and of course, how she plays Rita is so lovable.
Rita is quite the westernized person and a modern progressive woman, which is an uncommon depiction for that time. That also applies to the Raj-Rita romance, which is pretty sexual and open-minded, but that only benefits the movie, of course.
Talking about the characters, Judge Raghunath was a bit too one-note for me. Sure, when you see this as a fable, it's completely understandable, but it's not really that strong of a character arc. From the beginning he has his conviction and he's not departing from it in the slightest. Until in the very end, of course.
That's true, but it is an impactful ending nonetheless, when he realizes what he's done and who he really is.
Yes, but maybe less would have been more with Prithviraj Kapoor. His acting's very much out there and it also comes into play that the last hour felt too slow and was kind of meandering. The overall story is really simple, as we said at the beginning, but the book and narrative with Raj's father, the whole nature versus nurture aspect felt too simplistic at that point. Of course, this might also be amplified by the fact that the movie is almost 70 years old and this kind of message and idea is of course very well known, so there were no surprises there.
I get what you mean, but I was too much into it. This is a masterpiece.
I would never argue with anybody about that. So, in German we'd say,
Ich mache es kurz. Awaara ist ein absolutes Meisterwerk, ein Fest für die Augen und die Ohren. Hervorragend gespielt und ergreifend von Anfang bis Ende. Ein Muss für jeden, der Kino liebt.
I give Awaara 8 out of 10. It's more like 8.4, but I don't do that.
For me, it's 9 out of 10. It's more like 9.3, but I don't do that either.
रोते भी रहे हंसते भी रहे रोते भी रहे हंसते भी रहे.
Did you know that Raj Kapoor established his own studio, RK Films, in 1948 and with his first movie Augen became the youngest director of his time, or maybe of all time?
You don't know?
Well, Orson Welles was 26, François Truffaut was 27, Spielberg was 26, Soderbergh was 26.
Robert Rodriguez was 24, so was Kevin Smith. And of course, Xavier Dolan was only 20 when he directed his first feature film.
Touché.
So what are your thoughts about Awaara? And what is your favorite movie by and with Raj Kapoor? Leave a comment. And until next time, you can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd simply at The Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Buddymeister.
You can also find our newly launched Patreon at patreon.com/thejimmycage to get extra content and ways to participate even more in our exploration of Indian cinema. And if you enjoyed this review, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.